pecadores ahora y en la hora de nuestra muerte. Amén. Madre de Dios, rogad por nosotros pecadores ahora y en la hora de nuestra muerte. Amén.
Like the stylistic approach of the mix of a very realistic, hyper-realistic documentary you can see, and a sort of cinematic fiction you can see, in the blurred reality of the approaches. I thought it supported a lot of the thematic ideas at the core of the narrative. I think the violence against trans people and sex workers in particular is quite common across all cultures, and I thought the piece had a strong sense of realism that allowed it to maintain an emotional energy that was very effective. I thought the ending, with everyone looking down, also created a strong call to action feel, and also maintained a sort of big picture approach that was supposed to function beyond the shock value of having people being murdered on screen. So I thought the piece had a strong emotional and thematic intent.
I like kind of how from the beginning, I think I could relatively kind of tell that the older brother was going to end up having some sort of unfortunate karma come back to him, or in a way in which it kind of tells the story of how um, a lot of people who are very anti LGBTQ, they're always very anti until, or potentially until it relates to someone they know, or they have a personal experience with it, which is really annoying and really unfortunate, but sometimes it's what it takes. So I think it was very ironic from the beginning how he would be praying to this, to a god in which he was also praying with his gun. I just think it was just very um, ironic, the whole situation. In addition to his mother constantly having to pray every day for her son to come back to her, because she was thinking that was the son who was in trouble, not knowing that she had to worry about her other son. Um, it was just kind of crazy as well, just the concept of a lot of people thinking that they have ownership over other people's bodies and what they do, and that their opinions of someone else's life should take precedence. You know, how his whole thing is going around killing transgender women. It's like, for what? What does that do for you? What do you think you're doing? And you think the God that you're praying to is the one who. Mm-mm. So I think I really truly like the premise and the overall theme. I really do also liked the scene in which there were the various statements at the end where they were looking over the casket and saying all these affirmations about how transgender women, they deserve to live, they deserve to be like everybody else. Society somehow ostracizes them for some reason because they don't, things that people don't understand, they'd rather just not deal with and not accept. So I think that was a very beautiful aspect of the piece.
Not only do we have that tragic death in this film, but we get to hear from all the mourners, and they all have some really powerful messages to share um, about their friend and transphobia, and how one day it's this friend and then the next it could be them. Um, but just talking right into the camera, I thought that was a really cool aspect of this, and it made all their words more powerful as you looked into their eyes. Um, the fact that the gunman was in fact shooting his own brother was even more tragic. But also, I think it humanized maybe trans people for this brother that ended up shooting him. And hopefully he had a change in his life after that. But extremely tragic, heartbreaking to see, especially at the end. Um, but yeah, the mourners especially and their messages was a really powerful compilation of words and heartbreak and grief from them just pouring out.
What I liked about Not Another One is how it goes straight for the throat and the jugular in showing us how queer folks are killed in today's day and age. I also liked how the story allows us to feel and sympathize with the passing character as their friends circle them to mourn and show their appreciation for their life lived. I also liked the twist at the end of how the one homophobic person found himself killing his own brother and finding out that his brother was also just queer.
Interesting to see like how the interaction between the characters like coming off like in the early minutes, for he came out holding the guns and killing one of the trans women. But it turns out that his little brother. The topic is really strong. It's critical to the point, and it's really important to understand like you shouldn't hurt anybody because it might be one of your family members, like unfortunately, and it's pretty hard to watch. I mean, emotionally, like kind to like to see how a brother like never understand like what's going on with the sibling, and they were understand that until like they lose them. So it's just kind of like a cautionary tale about like like judging people from the outer appearances, about like hatred against like certain groups of people out there. And it's such a good like story like to hear and to learn about. The performances are good. It's just pretty like casual, but it's still strong in its element.
Revealing the tragedy of transphobia as so many are killed, the concept of filming from the view of the dead in a casket receiving grievers was quite sad yet effective. The film really created a sense of community with such a wide range of visitors. Very strong performances by the cast. I thought the pace, editing, and direction were excellent. Everyone needs to see this important film.